Our opening ceremonies. On the rotation for invocation, we have Commissioner Seifert today.
Yep, Commissioner Seifert's going to pass.
Okay.
My apologies, everyone.
How about we say a moment for, or take a moment for all the people affected by the hurricane. There's some massive devastation, so 10 seconds of silence.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. Let's take a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Shealy, could we have the roll call, please?
Flynn,
Here.
Walter,
Here.
Jewett,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Andrews,
Here.
Seifert,
Here.
Morris,
Here.
Henschel,
I'm here.
and Commissioner McAllister is excused today.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of minutes for the Board of Commissioners regular meeting of September 18th. Commissioner
In
Flynn.
the removal of consent calendar, I had removed B2, and it says Commissioner Andrews had, so I just want to make sure that was correct.
B2.
I had removed it in the minutes last
Okay.
meeting.
So item B2 in the September 18th consent calendar was removed by Commissioner Flynn, not Andrews.
Just a small little.
Okay. Bonnie, do you have that down? All right.
Also, for some reason, it's called the annual meeting.
And that's correct. It's supposed to be the annual meeting. And it should have been published as the annual meeting on the agenda. I was not here. It is the annual meeting. We have to have an annual meeting every year between certain dates, and that's the one that we posted on the meeting agenda that says that this is our annual meeting.
Okay. Have you made connection with admin so that that mistake doesn't happen again next year?
I sent
Okay.
something out and asked them if they could change the agenda packet to say annual.
Okay.
And I changed the minutes to say annual.
So what that is, just so everyone knows, there's an obscure state law that says the County Board of Supervisor, which we're the natural successor to, has to have an annual meeting between this date and this date. It's mainly for tiny little counties that don't meet every month. They have to at least have an annual meeting. We meet twice a month regularly, and then also others. So it's just kind of one of those dotting the I's, crossing the T's thing. So we'll make sure that our online documentation and minutes reflect that correctly.
Cool, so there wasn't anything else that is required during an annual meeting for us that? No. Okay.
And motion to approve meeting minutes
With corrections?
with corrections.
Motion by Flynn, support by Jewett. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we're at first public comment. Bonnie, could you please read the rules?
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provisions of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board may state his or her name and township or district. Providing a specific address is not recommended. Persons may address the board on matters or issues which are relevant and germane to county government as determined by the chairperson. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, allow an additional opportunity or time to speak if determined germane and necessary to the discussion. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment may be received during the meeting when a specific agenda topic is scheduled for discussion by the board. Prior to the first public comment, the chairperson will indicate the topics on the agenda for which public comment will be accepted. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson. The board shall not comment or respond to a person who is addressing the board. Silence or non-response from the board should not be interpreted as disinterest or disagreement by the board. Please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks.
Thank you, Bonnie. Would anyone like to address the board this morning? Now is your opportunity. Approach the podium. Feel free to line up at the podium if you'd like to speak. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Dave McGraham from Garfield Township. I am the former chair of the former opioid epidemic task force that was created by this board over a year ago. You've heard bits and pieces about the work that we've done. We have a strategic plan, a draft budget for you to review, and a lot of other information. What I'd like to do is ask for a date to review that plan, whether it's at a commission meeting or at a study session, whatever you deem appropriate. I would like to get back to members of the task force to let them know what the next steps are. They've met for a year. Some are waiting and are curious as to where the recommendations are going. We have, I think, over $1.5 million sitting in an account that could be used to provide services and help save lives. And we'd like to see that start to move forward. So again, my simple ask today is give us a date so that we can prepare for that meeting and help you understand some of our recommendations going forward, hopefully get your endorsement and figure out a way to move on to next steps. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Dave, if you could follow up with an email to that effect, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Ann Sweeney, and I live in Peninsula Township. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm going to have to read mine. I'm here because of the septic ordinance that's coming up later, and I'm representing the League of Women Voters of the Grand Traverse area. The League of Women Voters of the Grand Traverse area encourages the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners to pass an ordinance to require inspection of on-site sewage disposal systems, septic systems, at the point of property transfer. Grand Traverse County has approximately 25,000 septic systems. Without proper maintenance, these systems create a significant risk of contamination to our county's water resources. The state has been unsuccessful to date in passing legislation to regulate septic systems in the state. Therefore, Grand Traverse County should take the initiative to protect our water resources by adopting a requirement to inspect septic systems at the point of property transfer. Specifically, we support adopting an ordinance analogous to the Benzie-Leelanau District septic regulations, which would contain the following items. Sale and/or transfer of a property containing a septic system shall not be executed until the system has been evaluated by an inspector that has been certified by the Grand Traverse County Health Department. Properties where the septic system has been permitted or evaluated within the past 36 months would be exempt. Inspection results to be reported on a form to be generated by the Grand Traverse County Health Department. Inspection report to be provided to buyer and the Grand Traverse County Health Department prior to transfer. Septic systems that are determined by a certified inspector to be deficient must implement corrective action within a specific time frame, either prior to transfer or under other legal provisions. Noncompliance is subject to enforcement by the Grand Traverse County Health Department. Adopting an ordinance similar to that already implemented by the Benzie-Leelanau Health District provides Grand Traverse County a template to use that is effective, and septic system inspectors could follow the same guidelines across the Tri-County area. Long Lake Township currently has a similar ordinance requiring septic system inspections prior to property sale or transfer. The county may consider allowing the township to maintain their ordinance when it is more stringent than what the county adopts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Christine Chrisman. I'm the Executive Director of the Watershed Center Grand Traverse Bay. And the Watershed Center works to protect and preserve Grand Traverse Bay and all of its surrounding waters. So I apologize, I'm not able to stay for the discussion today, but I did want to make a few additional comments about your discussion about septic systems coming up. Local units of government play a key role in maintaining the health, safety, and welfare of their communities. Failing or improperly maintained septic systems can introduce nutrients, bacteria, viruses, pharmaceuticals, and other pollutants into our groundwater and surface water, which negatively impacts the quality of our water and the quality of our community. Currently, the more than 25,000 septic systems located in Grand Traverse County are not regulated by a statewide code requiring system maintenance. As the state continues to grapple with enacting a statewide code, numerous local governments have enacted point-of-sale or time of transfer ordinances to ensure septic systems in their communities are properly maintained and repaired. These include the Village of Elk Rapids, Milton, Torch Lake and Long Lake Townships, Kalkaska, Manistee, Leelanau, Benzie counties, and several others in our region. According to the Michigan Association for Local Public Health, local jurisdictions with a point-of-sale or time of transfer septic ordinance are finding that 17 to 25% of the systems evaluated need repairs. The Watershed Center has engaged with and been a resource for several local governments discussing point-of-sale or time of transfer ordinances. We're familiar with how various ordinances address the needs of their communities and understand the importance of working closely with health departments along the way. We also recognize the value of these ordinances at the county level, ensuring consistency and clarity throughout the county's jurisdiction. Regulatory tools that support inspections and proper maintenance provide great community benefit, and we applaud you for discussing this important water quality and public health topic. The Watershed Center looks forward to offering our expertise or resources on the matter as you see fit, and thank you all for your service for our community.
Thank you, Christine. Good morning.
Morning. I'm Kathleen Howisen, Peninsula Township. I'm running for County Commission for District 7, Traverse City North, all the way to Old Mission Peninsula. I'm closely following the County Commission Board, tracking the issues and doing my research. I have toured numerous county offices in the past 4 months, met with outstanding department leaders and staff, and learned about the many services provided to our community. As mentioned at the prior commission meeting here at the offices I toured, as I mentioned at the prior commission meeting, here are a few of the county offices I toured. Veteran Affairs with Mr. Roof, Environmental Health Department, Brent Wheat, Emergency Management, Greg Bird, 911 Central Dispatch, Jason Torrey, Water Treatment Facility with Mark Huggard, and Road Commission with Tim Koffel. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to tour the county jail with Lieutenant Argyle, and he provided me with an extensive 2-hour experience. I spoke with several officers and saw some of the needs for our county jail. The management and staff in the jail are doing an outstanding job while they are working diligently to hire additional officers and staff. I currently have tours scheduled for more Grand Traverse County departments and organizations so I can continue to gain firsthand knowledge and learn details about all aspects of our county and the services provided to our constituents. Those tours include the Regional Traverse City Airport with CEO Kevin Klein, the Water Intake Facility, Northwestern Community College, the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy, Beta, and GFL, to name a few. We have numerous county departments, companies, and organizations that are doing great things for our community. The leadership, pride of work, and fiscal responsibility are outstanding. I continue to be impressed with the management and the staff in our county. As a county commissioner, I believe it is our role to give employees the tools to do their jobs and support the people we have. I believe the people in our community and employees of the county know what's good for them, and they know government is not always the answer, and this is the change I want to make. As you can see, I will do my homework. I will always be prepared for county and township meetings. I will have important questions already answered. I will do my research so meetings can run efficiently. And most importantly, I'm nonpartisan. I'm Kathleen Howisen, running for County Commission District 7. I look forward to serving the taxpayers and staff of Grand Traverse County, and I humbly ask for your vote. We can do better. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. Anyone else for public comment this morning? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on in our agenda. Next, we have approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Support.
For motion by Jewett, support by Andrews. Is there any further discussion on the agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Brings us to the consent calendar. Bonnie, would you read that, please?
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission staff or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive. Number 1, September correspondence. I don't know from where. I didn't make the agenda. Number 2, Department of Health and Human Services Board, August 2024 meeting minutes. Number 3, Traverse Area District Library, August 2024 meeting minutes. Number 4, Grand Traverse County Road Commission weekly updates. Number 5, ARPA status report. B, approvals. Number 1, Kingsley School Resource Contract Amendment. Hold on, I didn't turn this thing down. Sorry. Number 2, Medical Examiner roster update. Number 3, Health Department, Eagle Grant renewal. Number 4, Health Department, K-Town Youth Care Center grant agreement. Number 5, Health Department, Youth Health and Wellness Center grant agreement. Number 6, Commission on Aging snow vendor contracts. Number 7, ARPA funding reimbursement requests.
Okay, I'm going to pull A1 just for a brief mention. Commissioner Jewett?
A4.
Commissioner Andrews?
B6.
Commissioner Flynn?
It's A5, just for a quick comment.
Anybody else? Okay, so I have the removal of A1 by myself, A4 by Commissioner, was that Jewett?
Yep.
A5 by Commissioner Flynn, and A6 by Commissioner Andrews.
B6. B6.
Oh, did I say I meant B? I read B, said A. All right, B6 by Commissioner Andrews. All right, is there a motion to approve with these exceptions?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Jewett, supported by Andrews. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Walter?
Yes.
Jewett?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Seifert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes, motion carries. And we have no special orders of business, so we'll move right into the consent agenda. Item A1, September correspondence. This is a letter regarding ORV trails in South County. I had a person down there reach out to me personally. I think it's in Commissioner Seifert's district and neighbors Commissioner Nelson's district. So I spoke with the administrator. He's having our legal counsel give them a response to that. Is there anything to add to that, Nate?
Not at this time. I know that the sheriff and the Mr. Nordfjord have exchanged correspondence regarding the ordinance.
But it's not on trails, it's on roads.
Yeah, which it's, in short, a township issue. But we received correspondence, and we're having our legal give them the specifics of, where the jurisdiction actually is. That's all. So, go ahead, Commissioner Andrews.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that that actually directly implicates our county ordinance with respect to, we specifically say that Garfield Road between the township, the end of Garfield Township to Kingsley Village limit is not open for our ORVs, and then it looks like the township has attempted to pass an ordinance that directly conflicts with that and says that that road is open. And I think what the community is going to need, hopefully in short order from our legal counsel, is which controls, because there appears to be a direct conflict there. Do you have a timeline for when we might get some action on that?
I know that the sheriff and Matt have talked a couple of different times, and Matt is currently on vacation, so probably next week
And that'll come back to us.
at some point. My understanding is that the road commission can overrule the township, but I don't know that the county can. I think our county ordinance allows townships to specify areas within their township that is open to ORV traffic.
That is the case in some of the townships. And Acme Township has that ordinance currently, has for a while.
So relatedly, I do understand that there's a process of notifying adjacent townships and the county when you're going to do that. Obviously, and a letter like this doesn't satisfy that requirement.
Correct. We are currently working on it, Commissioner Andrews, and hopefully we'll have something by next week.
Commissioner Seifert, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I did, just as a little add-on, that a large portion of this part that they're talking about is actually a dedicated snowmobile trail, and it's been there for about, 40 years. So, and they also use horses and, things like that. It's not just ORVs that they're talking about, but it's been used this way for a long, long time.
Okay.
Long, long, long time.
I don't think we're making a policy judgment, but a process question. If we're going to amend an ordinance, I would expect that there's some process. And it sounds like the person who's raising the concern didn't feel like that was the case.
Okay.
Okay, so I will move to receive and file this item. Is there support?
Second.
Okay, motion by Henschel, support by Seifert to receive and file. Is there any further discussion on the topic? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're on item A4, Grand Traverse County Road Commission Weekly Update. I believe we have a road commissioner here.
That's why I pulled it, because we had somebody here.
Welcome, Commissioner Korn.
Morning, Commissioners. Lisa Korn, Grand Traverse County Road Commission. I noticed that the attachment on your agenda was an item from back in the summer regarding the multi-jurisdiction cooperation agreement for Town Line Road, and you didn't have a copy that I could see of our weekly report from Dan Watkins, our Managing Director. If you have it, we didn't have it in the public, so I couldn't see it. So I wanted to make sure I was here on behalf of Dan to just keep you updated on what's going on at the Road Commission right now. If anybody does have a question about the multi-jurisdiction cooperation agreement for Town Line Road, I'd be happy to talk about that as well. We wanted to let you guys know, though, that we are working diligently on Frankie Road, and our goal is to have it reclassified as a local collector road, and that would allow us to access funds from the MPO to do something for Frankie Road. So that's been our goal on that road, and we've been working forward on that on Town Line as well. You guys know where we're going. And I also wanted to address Cedar Run and Gray Road. We had a pretty lengthy discussion about that. Cedar Run and Gray Road is an intersection, a three-way intersection that bisects two townships, Long Lake and Garfield Township, one being on each side of the road. There's a couple concerns about this road. First of all, there's a consistent traffic backup in that area, and it has to do with the fact that there's no turn lane. That's kind of the heart of the issue there. So our intention is to, at the bare minimum, create a turn lane there. We did apply for, with MDOT, and received this month a $20,000 safety grant to do the study on that intersection that we need in order to move forward to apply for funding on there. There's a lot of options. They start with nothing all the way up to a roundabout, which is not the intention of our board, based on land acquisition that would be needed there, along with the fact that there is a utility field directly adjacent to it that would make it pretty cost prohibitive to do that. So we're looking at the additional turn lane and or perhaps traffic lights or stop signs. That's one issue. In the meantime, next year's Grandview Parkway Extension Project for MDOT, that's putting in a roundabout at Tom's 14th. Forgive me, I use all business names instead of road names on our projects, like the Moomers intersection. We're working on that one too. But on the Tom's West Bay intersection, as you guys know, there's a roundabout that's being built there next summer. They're going to continue the project that ends this year at Division, and it's going to continue up into Elmwood Township from the city of Traverse City's area. And we're, of course, concerned about detours on that. There will be people, for the obvious reason, avoiding that area of town, which is a major connector for people coming in from Leelanau Township, but also from our western townships and counties as well. So the concern is that Gray and Harris and Cedar Run will become the obvious detour, which we are bracing for and planning for. So this already congested intersection is at the heart of that detour. So we've been working on this for about 6 months now. The receipt of the safety grant this month was a big help because that will give us the ability to get in mind what we need to make this move forward. But I also wanted to point out that we want to make sure that when we're collecting the numbers and doing all of the work we have to do to receive the funding for the road, that we are taking into account that it's going to be a major detour for a large road construction project for most of next year. So our staff and engineering are working on that as well. So I just wanted you guys to know, as a lot of people are talking about this, that we have been working on it for the better part of this past year and did at least get that good news on the safety grant funding as well. Unfortunately, we did not receive the safety grant for the Moomers intersection, and we continue to work forward on that as our plan is a dog bone roundabout there. That's been discussed with this board multiple times, as you guys know. Dan wanted to just move forward and let you know about the meetings that he had attended, many of them centered around the Cedar Run and Gray Road detour that I had mentioned, along with the fairly lengthy Peninsula Township meeting, if any of you were at that. Another thing that's going on at the Road Commission is Haley, our traffic light specialist, kind of a rock star in that. We are now hosting statewide agencies in, I have to look at my notes to say it right, IMSA Work Zone Safety Training. Very few places in this state are hosting these trainings, and Grand Traverse County is one of them. We also have moved forward with a safety coordinator. As you know, we've had several accidents where our employees have been hit by cars, and also our equipment has been hit by cars. So we've moved forward with reinstituting a previous thing that we had at the Road Commission, which is this safety committee. Long Lake Road project almost done. For those of you that commute there, I know they're happy about that. And Zoo Road in Grant Township was completed as well. The guys are getting ready for winter. As you can imagine, our salt and sand is in. We have quite a difficulty in attaining those materials and getting them in a timely manner. So we're thrilled to have that as well. And we did finish up our ditching operations for the year. I also wanted to remind everybody to follow the Grand Traverse County Road Commission on social media. We have a YouTube page as well where all of our videos have been put out. We have videos that are being released every week or two that detail the operations that we do. So if you have constituents with questions about ridging or ditching, they can watch these videos. They're quick, easy, right to the point, and you can get information on that. And then I don't know if you all had a chance to see the Record Eagle today, but our managing director, Dan Watkins, was in there discussing a very timely issue of candidate election signs. So I just wanted to remind everybody that if you get a call or a text from somebody that you had dropped signs off to, or just notice yourself that your signs are missing, they quite likely are located at either your township hall or the Road Commission. We do keep them for 30 days, and I believe most of the townships do. They likely haven't been stolen. They've just been removed because they were placed in the right-of-way. And I know that that's not candidates' faults. If you give a homeowner a sign, they probably they do it by accident, but it's placed in the Road Commission right-of-way. We do not ever dictate what is the content of signs, but we do have to dictate and create fair and equally applied rules for the placement of those signs. So many of them are removed. So make sure that if you're missing some signs that you look, because I know how expensive they are and how wasteful it is to just have them being dumped. So that is there. And also the Record Eagle, I think, did a great job of listing all of the sign ordinances for both in the city limits and outside the city limits. And then also remember that your townships, villages, or city may have as well additional ordinances on the size that the signs can be, and those will be removed as well, but you can usually find them at your township, village, or city hall. Any questions on Road Commission? Yeah.
Yeah, I hear from a lot of constituents about Frankie Road, and that same update about the designation to local road has been the same update for a while. So where are we with, and maybe you can speak to what used to be the TTCI group, or what is the process since that's what we've been hearing for a couple months of the designation change?
Well, Dan sits on the TTCI. I don't. I know that Commissioner Jewett does, so he may be a better one to answer that question as far as Frankie Road goes.
And it's all about classification for the MPO to actually look at any type of funding to go to certain roads, they got to meet a certain criteria. Currently, Frankie Road does not meet that criteria and stuff, but the road commission has been working to get the designation of that road changed to where it would meet the criteria.
I know,
outlined in the MPO.
right, that's what we heard last time too, though, so where are we with that process?
If you'd like, I can have Dan contact you directly with an email responding to that.
That'd be great. I mean,
Yeah.
I emailed him a couple days ago, but I didn't hear back, so.
Yeah,
that would
he
be
is
great.
away at a conference right now, but I'll be happy to pass that along. And one thing to remember too on the MPO projects is prior to being designated as an MPO, we received funding from the state. They were in 3-year rotations where Grand Traverse County Road Commission would get 2 years of the funding, and then the City of Traverse City Streets Department, and then we'd rotate through. So the initial MPO projects that you see being assigned right now and granted were actually the ones that we had already designated and worked on prior to being named as an MPO because of that 3-year rotation still going through. So Frankie Road is the one that we've designated that we want to work on once that rotation is through and we have that initial MPO funding. But unfortunately, it was not classified correctly now that we're an MPO. So we're going through that process right now. And I think that that was going to be an issue with any projects that we started after the beginning of the MPO was the reclassification. It just happened to be the Frankie Road because we prioritized that first. I have a suspicion it would have been any other road that we had chosen just because our classification system will be different now with that. So I will make sure that Dan gets back with you. And I believe TTCI meets monthly, but I don't know that for a fact, but maybe just even joining in on that or just having your rep give you a report. I used to sit on that board myself, so I wouldn't tell you it's a enthralling way to spend the afternoon, but it might give you firsthand information on that MPO transition process. There's some real experts there on that.
And just so you know, TTCI meets every other month.
Is that
for
what it is?
now, but starting here, I think it's November, they're going to start meeting every month. But one other thing to follow up on the road commission is the one that has to get the classification of the road changed before it can come in front of the TCCI board, the MPO board, whatever you want to call it, to have that discussion and everything, so.
Commissioner Andrews?
Thank you. Last we heard about Frankie Road, in order for the road commission to make that reclassification, it needed to have some traffic counts on the road. And as I recall, the traffic count was done the week after school let out in June last year. Now that school's back in session, I don't see anything in the weekly updates for the last month. Is there a plan to do a traffic count on Frankie Road?
I know that our traffic counts have started this week, but I would have to look to see specifically which one it is.
So when Mr. Watkins responds, could he provide a date for the traffic count?
I can do
for
that.
Frankie
I'll
Road?
make a note as soon as, on
Thank
my
you.
phone, as soon as I walk away. So I'll have him respond to you on the status of the reclassification for the MPO process, and then we'll also look at what the results were of the traffic count for Frankie Road specifically. Okay, that's an
Well,
easy ask.
we heard the results from June, but we haven't heard any updated results after school started.
After school starts. Okay, I'll specify that as well.
Any other questions for the road commission? Commissioner Nelson?
Yeah, and maybe this is for Commissioner Jewett, I'm not sure. Are there any other roads besides Frankie that you are looking at or you have a short list for?
On the MPO process or just
Yeah.
in general?
Well, to reclassify.
In general, the Road Commission has targeted Town Line Road, Barney Road, Frankie Road. I'm going to forget some of them. There's
Brackett.
Bates Road, Brackett Road, and there was one other one that was in South County, and I'm sorry, it's slipping my mind. But we have highlighted those, but what the real discussion that's going to happen is we begin our budget process at our upcoming meeting, and that's where we're really going to be digging deep into those. And then our staff represents us on TTCI and takes that forward on projects that they think would be best suited for the federal funding that's available through the MPO process. As you know, we have a lot deeper pockets through that process than we do through our fund that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
May I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning.
Hi, Nate.
I did hear yesterday that the road commission is going to do something with Lakeshore Drive in Fife Lake Township. Is that true?
That is true. Dan has been attending meetings, and we've been talking with the residents in Fife Lake Township about Lakeshore Drive. I think the last time that I was here, which might have been a few months ago now, we talked about how our construction committee is changing the way that we're doing some of these upgrades to roads. It might not be the gold standard, highest possible road, but we're going to get your road fixed. And we've been working on that through the ridging process. We have completed ridging on numerous roads that were slated for potential SADs in the future, and we're trying to help the residents there avoid those cumbersome costs. And this is one where we had discussed it as well, was Lakeshore Drive.
Thank you.
All right, so we need a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner. Motion by Jewett, support by Nelson. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item A5, ARPA status report. Commissioner Flynn.
I know last time we discussed this, some of us wanted to follow up with some of these entities that have not spent the money, and I did have a couple conversations. One with President Scott Newman-Bale of TCAPS. He did the research, and he said the money has been spent and forms should be turned in this week, as well as Fife Lake, Lisa, Supervisor Leedy said that she should be turning her forms in this week as well.
Okay. Anything to add to the ARPA?
The letters went out last week. We have given them to the end of October to reply, and we have already heard from several applicants on projects. So we expect to have a good response to that.
Okay, so we'll have a just further discussion in first meeting in November, I think.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Motion by Walter, and support by Flynn. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B6, Commission on Aging Snow Vendor Contract. Commissioner Andrews.
Yeah, I expect this is a short conversation. I understand that this is a proposal to approve contracts with 6 snow removal vendors, but the resolution at the end appears out of place. The resolution is for outside agency agreements with the Agency on Aging and the Senior Companion Program at CMA, at Catholic Human Services. It took me a while to figure out what I was looking at, but I'm pretty sure that's the wrong resolution. And it should have been in last month's packet, but it wasn't. So,
Yep, it
Well,
does
this
look like
seems
the wrong resolution.
A clerical issue. Good catch, Commissioner Andrews.
with that, I would make a motion to approve the 6 outside agency contracts presented in the packet by the Commission on Aging.
Second.
Motion by Andrews, support by Seifert. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for being here.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
All right, that brings us to item 9A, Project Alpha Progress Update from Cunningham Limp.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to introduce you to Jerry Tomczak of Cunningham Limp, and he's here to provide you with your first in-person update.
Morning,
Good morning,
Jerry.
Commissioners.
Morning, Jerry.
Morning.
Thank you, Nate, for the intro. So I am a program manager with Cunningham Limp here in Traverse City. I want to thank you personally for allowing us the opportunity to serve on your behalf for the Project Alpha project. The first report for month of September is as follows. I believe you have a copy. I'll just kind of highlight. We visited 8 facilities, the 2 on Lafreniere, spent quite a bit of time over there. We went also to the Sheriff's Boat Storage or Boat Barn, the Commission on Aging, the DPW garage, this building, the lower level, the 3rd floor, and then we went to the Civic Center and to Maple Bay, the barn storage out there. So we visited a total of 8 facilities. We've had 3 biweekly meetings with the Project Alpha team, and I've gone through with them the project launch, the progress to date, our plan for action items and next steps. We drafted and issued the architectural RFP. That was given to us on Friday. There were 5 that we went out to bid with, which included PIA, Environmental Architects, which is Ray Kendra, Integrated, Tower Pinkster, and Hobbs and Plaque. We received 4 RFP responses on Friday. The only one who didn't respond was Integrated. So we're scheduling the post-bid interviews with all 4 firms for later this week and next week. And then we'll make a recommendation to the Project Alpha team on who to hire for the architectural services. We also went out to bid for the civil engineering, which is anything related to the site. We issued that RFP. I've issued it to Mansfield, AECom, Spicer Group, Gosling, and Gordy Frazier. And we expect to have those results by the 15th of October. And we'll go through post-bid interviews with them afterwards, make a recommendation. And then other things that we're working on, including reviewing the summary of needs and wants from the Tower Pinkster report. We also had asked department heads through Jenny and the Project Alpha team on the storage needs and wants so that we could prepare a nice summary schedule to help the architects in the design of the storage building. So at this point, we're going to continue to hold our bi-weekly meetings. We've also worked on the professional service agreement. Chris, our chief financial officer, legal counsel for the county, have met to discuss, and we've worked out those terms. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner questions? Commissioner Walter?
Couple questions. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And thanks for doing all of this work on our behalf. Just a couple questions. When you talk about facility tours, and on here it says Commission on Aging, is that the Commission on Aging storage areas?
Yes.
Okay, not the actual offices
Correct.
themselves?
We went to the two that are just off of, is that Keystone?
Keystone, yep.
Yep.
Okay, good. And then can you, or maybe administration can clarify who is on Project Alpha team?
Sure, I can. So it's myself, Nate. We have Greg Bird, who's here, Jason Torrey, John Chase, Jenny McKellar, and then we also have Rob Sturdivant, who is Deputy Director of Construction Code.
Anyone else have questions? Commissioner Andrews?
Just if you could clarify, what are the issues that come back to our board from Project Alpha? Is the decision who to hire, which architect, is the decision to, which engineering? What are those are coming here for board approval, and what are designated by the, or resolved by the Project Alpha team?
Largely, you're going to see everything. Cunningham Limp will give us a recommendation based on their experience and their skill set, and we will bring that back to the board as a recommendation from the project, the owner's rep. We don't anticipate any administrative activity outside of this chamber with that. If there was something that was within purchasing limits of the administration, we may do that, but for this project, I think that we want to have as much involvement with the Board of Commissioners as possible.
Okay, Commissioner Nelson, did you have your hand up? Okay, Commissioner Jewett.
Thanks for being here, Jerry. When you mentioned interviewing for the architectural, is it Cunningham Limp doing the interviewing, or is it the committee doing the interviewing?
It will be Cunningham Limp.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you guys will have a recommendation to the committee?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions?
I do want to say one item that probably falls within the administrator's spending authority is something we talked about, which is the necessary environmental assessment of phase one. That I'll probably be reaching out to a few different firms locally to inquire about when we can engage that work. And again, that cost is probably going to be well below $25,000.
Okay.
One thing that we learned on the facility tour that we already kind of knew was we have way too much stuff. We toured.
Wait, government's too big?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said we had too much stuff.
Okay.
And we are going to be working with John and his crew and individual department heads and elected officials to get rid of it. And much like we did last year with the, we'll call it a sale at the Civic Center, it was very successful. We were able to get rid of a lot of stuff. We need to declare a lot of items surplus. We're going to be coming to you in the future months asking for clarification or please let us declare these items surplus so we can either throw them away or offer them up for sale. The offering up for sale is problematic because it's time-consuming. Somebody's got to organize it, somebody's got to manage it, versus many of these items are old, have no value to us, likely no value to the community. We would like to just get rid of them. So coming forward in the next few months, we'll have some of that discussion with you, but I just wanted to give you an update on that. I don't know, Jerry, how old was that Ford truck at the DPW? 1930?
76, I think he said.
It was, we have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
We're just commenting that, one man's trash is another person's treasure, 76. Actually, a whole lot of people weren't even born by then. That's like, oh my gosh, they had cars back then? Stop it.
Did they?
Commissioner Seifert, why don't you give us your address? We'll drop it all off in your front yard.
There we go.
Oh, man.
Okay, so no action is required for this, so if there's no further questions, thank you.
I have a question,
Go ahead,
a follow-up
Commissioner
question
Walter.
about the architectural RFP. This is just general services. I guess I'm interested in seeing the RFP so that when it comes back to us for final approval, we know what we're getting
absolutely.
into. I'm assuming it's just general services because we haven't really gotten into any true nitty-gritty of what exactly is.
What it's going to look like, all
Yeah.
of that, yeah. We'll certainly provide a copy.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
a
we'll
great
move
day.
on to item 9B, septic system point-of-sale discussion.
So this is something that we have talked about previously. Thank you. And when we were at the MAC conference, Dina Bosworth of MAC gave an update both to in general session and to the administrators, indicating that there's now a draft 8 of the proposed. Yep.
Is there a way to make sure this is on this screen too?
Oh, sure.
Was that person here because Matt's not here?
That's correct.
The
That is Rich
person we've been
McNulty.
looking at? Okay.
He is representing for Cole Stoker while Matt is out of the country. I've lost my space.
Sorry.
So we were at MAC, and draft 8 of the statewide septic ordinance is completed in its draft form. There is question about when that draft could be implemented. One of the things of note was this potential that if any county has a local ordinance specific to a point of sale or something different, there would be likely a 10-year time period that we could transfer from what ordinance we have to the statewide septic ordinance. I find value in that. I know that we are already looking at a septic ordinance. We have been looking at it. This board has discussed it with environmental health and the health department. So I had a conversation with Commissioner Andrews at the conference, and we talked about, can we just have this discussion today? Brent and Mike, they have offered to be here today to answer questions that you may have and offer potential options for a countywide septic ordinance. So that's why we're here. Any questions before you?
Would you like to kick us off, Commissioner Andrews?
Since I was part of getting this,
Yeah.
my conversation with Nate after the presentation, thank you for being here and for bringing this to the board for discussion. When we had a study session, I believe it was July 24th of this year, we had a study session, and we had, I think we talked for an hour or longer about septic, and you presented us, environmental health presented us with a lot of statistics, some concerns related to the different types of ordinances that, in particular, point of sale versus a time of transfer, different options within those ordinances in terms of who would do the inspections was a big distinction. Do you do it in-house? Do you do it through a certification process so outside haulers and others can manage? And there's a cost and there's pros and cons, and you lay those all out for us at our last meeting. And my recollection was that Commissioner Jewett was very specific in saying, this is a lot of information, this is great information. We need to see a handful of proposals brought back to this board with pros and cons of each and costs and what are the considerations that we as a board need in order to move forward. I think you were very specific. We can't have 80 options. We need a handful of options to react to. And I think we we're pretty consistent in that. I think Commissioner Seifert raised some concerns about the consumer aspects, consumer impacts, and so I don't know if you are presenting, but I just wanted to, lay a little context here that we are, we've been thinking about this, and I think we are receptive already to hearing what you have to say, with the understanding that there may be benefits independent of, in addition to the benefits of inspecting septic systems in our county in terms of the phase-out approach, the transition approach over, and that's been consistent in every version of the drafts, which I think Nate said there's 8 now.
8, yep.
But every one of them has had that sort of grandfather sunsetting, extended sunsetting clause for local communities. So that seems to be a theme.
Correct.
I'd like to just clarify a procedural thing. There's 9 of us. We all say things. Just because one commissioner says something doesn't mean that's the whole board. Even if everyone seems to agree, we have to have a vote if you want to give someone a directive. So if I say, hey, I really like to see this, it doesn't mean I'm going to get it. If we really want to act as a board, we need to have a vote. That's all I'm going to say about the procedure and expectations.
And just to be clear, we can't do that at a study session, can we?
No.
By our own rules, we don't take board action at study sessions. That's not something we've always had. That was actually something that was put into the rules around 2020, I think, 2019, that the study sessions wouldn't have action. That's something we could remove and thereby give directives as a board, because the board acts by the vote of its majority. So in a study session, we might limit that to things of an informational nature and not like a final decision, because that was the point of the rule, was not making final decisions when people didn't expect it. So, Commissioner
And,
Jewett.
that particular study session was conversation, and my comment was along what Commissioner Andrews just said, that we would like to see different ideas, and stuff. There was no directive, I understand that, but that is what was said, that we would like to see a couple different ideas, what may work, what may not work, and make our decision from there. So, but I understand what you're saying too. So,
Absent direction from the board, this is something that environmental health is concerned about. We've had several discussions about this over the years, about pending legislation that is going to impact their department significantly, not to mention the benefits to the community for having such an ordinance. So they have been working on it because that's what they do on a day-to-day basis. And looking forward, this is something that we wanted to get in front of the board at some point in time. But the immediacy of it all, I guess, started at the MAC conference last week. So I did reach out to Mike and Brent and just asked them if they could be here today to answer questions that you may have. They worked up a presentation, a small presentation to give to you just to kind of kick off the conversation.
Well,
go ahead.
Thank you. Again, Mike Leahy, the County Health Department.
Ron Wheat, Grand Traverse County Environmental Health Director.
Welcome.
So to surmise that, correct. Wrapping up our study session in July, we heard from you all. We went back. We put a couple options on the table to really fine-tune them. A conversation here today to maybe take some direction and some ideas and hear from you all is kind of where we'd like to land, especially in a kind of time-sensitive matter, as Nate said, with the latest version. This. Oh. Yeah. We can improvise. So, with draft 8, the latest language, the big take-home for that is that, as Nate said, now we
Looks
have.
like you're a PDF instead
Yes.
of a slide, so if you just scroll.
Oh, look at that.
Bring that bar down.
We're like locked up. The mouse is stuck up in the upper, like in the center of the screen up there.
We get IT on that.
Always technical.
IT Nate.
This is the real Terminator story. This is how technology and everything really attacks us.
Destroy government.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry.
I'll talk to Lisa.
Not sorry, but you're right. I apologize.
Just have to talk.
It's been a rough couple of weeks. Yes. Yes, it is. Unless Daryl gets the county to deliver all the stuff to my driveway, then I'm screwed.
Safe and secure?
What'd you say? I was listening.
I
What?
said, unless you get the county to deliver all that stuff to my driveway, then I'm screwed.
Well, what if there's a 1976 Ford in there?
So to jump into that, sorry.
Did you show them where the mouse was?
Move down this way.
Did you show them where the mouse was? I did. Okay, good.
Our biggest takeaway
There's a sheen on that screen.
No, I
is
see it.
that with the updated language, we have a 10-year potential phase-out if a local county or township has an ordinance around on-site wastewater regulation. So we do feel, can I hit next on that? That as the county health department, that we may be in a position to act, all right? This may be a good opportunity to do so. And why do we think so? We do believe we have the opportunity to begin to address these needs locally prior to the statewide requirements coming down. Additionally, and we'll talk about, we're open to talking about this, building the capacity to prepare for the statewide requirements. And then the third piece, which we feel is really important to kind of surmise the earlier conversation about, is it all the county health department staff doing this work, or is it a relationship with contractually, is our action here, we believe, is going to help drive some of that capacity in the private sector to support this essential work. We at the county health department aren't going to be able to do all of the work that is needed for our inspection program locally if we choose to act, or the statewide one. So beginning to act will help drive some of that private sector to help support those needs. So there's really two different approaches to this. So to your point, we narrowed that down from our previous conversation in July to how can we bite this off. So the first is a complete update of our Grand Traverse County Sanitary Code to include an inspection program. So we have a fantastic model that was referenced earlier today through Benzie Leelanau District Health Department, who updated their sanitary code in '23 to include an inspection program. We've met with their team multiple times. We've reviewed that document. We feel comfortable with it, that it is applicable to our county, and the language is there. The second would be to develop an amendment to our existing Grand Traverse County Sanitary Code to add an inspection program to our existing code. Our understanding is both of those options have to go through the same process, through the public comment period and so on. It would be our recommendation that we address it through the first mechanism of taking a look at the entire code, giving it an update to include an inspection program. As noted in July, our code was drafted in '64, put into place into '74, and last amended in 1994. So we do feel there are some points in there where we can get stronger through a new code to include that inspection program. And then I just wanted to clarify it really quick before we dove into some further conversation. So there's two options here, right? There's the point of sale inspection program. So that is that no premises or dwelling shall be sold prior to an inspection occurring, or there's a time of transfer inspection program in which no premises or dwelling shall not sell, convey, assign, or transfer ownership. A little bit more comprehensive. That's what our partners in Benzie Leelanau have written to their code. That would be our recommendation, if we can make one, that we look at it through a time of transfer inspection program. And then there's a lot of caveats there that we've begun to look at to address certain needs around that, right? About sensitive issues, transferring a family farm, so on and so forth. There are processes already spelled out that we can begin to address some of those needs. I just threw it up again from July, where we shared numbers, right? So what are we really looking at in Grand Traverse County? 5-year average for home sales is just about 833 a year, with those that would be applicable in the time of transfer program, roughly 1857 or so. And that comes with that initial failure rate of 20%. So to kind of summarize, We do have a really good model in the Benzie-Leelanau District Health Department Sanitary Code that includes an inspection program. That's at the time of transfer program. We've reviewed that with their team and our team. We feel confident that it addresses our needs in regards to our sanitary code, but begins to build this mechanism into place. I think it could be important to try to act now as the state is processing through in Lansing, passing this legislation that we've all been talking about. Is something going to happen? I believe we all feel confident that something is going to happen. Acting now enables us to begin to build that capacity locally, kind of set the stage, and work through this big lift methodically. So with the time inspection program, for example, we can begin to inspect those sites that are, on the lakefront maybe, or some of those needs in a stepwise process, and begin to build the capacity to then address what's coming eventually with the state language. And for example, with the state language, the first 5 years, right, we would have to inspect all properties 20 years or older with a septic system 20 years or older, plus those within 500 feet of surface water, or without record of any of that on-site wastewater system at the county health department. That's going to be a big lift. We don't have that information right there in front of us. We're going to have to work to put that picture together. We know how many inland lakes and things we have, right? So within 500 feet of an inland lake, that's going to take some time by our team to sit down and really put that picture together. So implementing some type of program now will enable us to begin doing some inspections now while putting together that picture so that we could begin to do that methodically and phase that into our county. So that's kind of where we've stood on that. We do have those drafts in front of us that if the conversation goes this way this morning, we are more than ready to begin to put pen to paper and draw some things up to be reviewed. So,
Commissioner Jewett.
Appreciate you guys coming in and reporting and stuff, and it's definitely going to be an issue that we have to address one way or another, but I know you guys have been working on some drafts and everything. We've not seen them, but my thoughts are possibly of forming a committee of 3 here to sit down with you guys and go over them before it comes here, and I'm wondering if that would be a possibility or if that's a good idea. Or
make a motion and see.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we form a committee of 3 to work with Brent and Mike here in the health department and administration, if need be, to go over these rough drafts before they get in front of the full board. And
I'll support that. I would also ask that representatives from possibly the Watershed Center and Aspire North Realtors Association be invited to give input on possible ordinance, considering the environmental and the economic impacts. For the discussion, Commissioner Andrews.
I am fine and happy to have a committee. I think that's a good way to bring in a smaller group to do some real discussion. I am cautious that there is a chance that we might want to pivot should we understand that we need to act faster because the legislator is acting faster. And I think just knowing that that committee probably would be in a good position, assuming that committee keeps moving, to then help respond efficiently and quickly and not lose a window that we may have if the state, for example, decides to do a lot in a very short time before Christmas, which I think from what Mac is telling us, could happen. So I just want to say committee is a great idea. It's a good way to get good ideas flowing, but we need to be just cautious that we might need a pivot.
I just wrote down Commissioner Jewett, Commissioner Andrews, and Commissioner Henschel for the committee, just so everyone knows what I'm thinking, because the chair appoints ad hoc committees. I am not prepared to just copy Benzie-Leelanau's point blank. If we wanted to start with a very low level, very, very high bar for inspection requirement so that we have something on our books, and then our committee can kind of bring it down and revise it so that if the state passes something, then we can make it tailor fit to what's best for our community. So something to the effect of, if standing water is present, it requires, something very high bar, and then that gives the committee time to work and bring things together. I know, just in discussions, Commissioner Jewett has dealt with and installed septic systems. I have personally as well. Commissioner Andrews is an environmental attorney who deals with environmental issues. I think that's a good mix to start with. Commissioner Jewett, did you have something?
No, I was just
Okay.
actually going to say my thoughts for Commissioner Andrews, myself, and then whoever the third person will be, but you already just brought that up, so.
Commissioner Morris had her hand up.
Has anybody taken a look at Long Lake's ordinance? I figured you had.
I have, and I know other, well, it's more important what our health department has done than it.
Right, well, I'd encourage you to take a look at it. It's on Documents on Demand on their website. It's a time of transfer, and it's worked pretty good since 2008, I believe.
And I do realize time is kind of an essence right here, so, I would try to, if this passes, have our administrative assistant set out a doodle poll and see right away if we can meet next week, maybe. I don't know, so.
Commissioner Nelson.
I have one comment with all the septic experts, the private contractors out there in the field. I'm just encouraging, I don't know all the details of how this is going to come out and how it's working in other areas, but the private contractors are out there. I think we should tip the hand toward having them do as many of these inspections as possible, because they're already, we don't have to staff up, especially as this is kind of a little bit of a new world for us. Let's work with the people that are already out there, already on site.
Commissioner Walter?
That's getting pretty far down the road, but I understand the sentiment there. But just a couple questions about clarification in terms of the timeline at the state level, which is anybody's best guess, but sounds like it'll happen if they ever meet again this year or in lame duck or something, right?
So we did meet EH directors in Eagle. So draft 8 was released on Friday of last week. We met this week, Monday and Tuesday, and we're already working on markups with Eagle for a potential draft 9. So draft 8 is not going to be the end-all be-all. We're still working through some things, but so.
So to continue on, question maybe for administration or health department on what the process looks like to update, your desire is to update our current sanitary code with this. Can you speak to the timeline and what is involved and how much time it has to be out there for the public to respond to it? And because we're running out of time, and so I'm can you speak to the
Absolutely.
specifics of updating that?
So this is a very important work, right? So we don't want to rush important work. But I'd say Brent and I were sitting in my office yesterday looking at the calendar and backing it out from there. And there's a lot of work to do in a short amount of time. Per MCL Section 3.3, right, we would have to have a public comment section, which we post within 10 days, have 10-day public posting notice, and that posting cannot be within 20 days of our language being voted on and adopted. So when you start to back that out, right, looking at today's October 2nd, if the language in Lansing is that they may act on this during a lame duck period of time. I'm not an expert on that window of how long what that looks like in Lansing, but we would have to start getting together. I appreciate Commissioner Jewett's impetus to maybe meet next week and start working on some language here and put some things on the table to parse through. Absolutely.
So it's basically 30 days once we decide on what that language is, basically. Is that correct? I mean, 20
I
plus?
believe it's the 20, so as long as the 10-day, so as long as the public has 10-day notice, and it's not within 20 days of of the vote of the board to approve the document that's been drafted.
Okay, so the 10 is within the 20.
Yes, if we time that out correctly, I believe the 10 is within the 20, but we would need to time that out correctly on our part.
We could have a special meeting if we needed to.
I was going to say, we might have to, because we don't meet the week of the election, which is the first week in November, and then we're into the third week of November, and that's into lame duck, so. Thanksgiving and
Commissioner Flynn was next.
hunting season.
I just
right?
want to say for the record, from the research I've done on septic, standing water is not the only symptom of a failing. So that's why I think inspections are very important, especially when with proper inspecting and maintaining, you know, a septic system can last 30 years, but they fail, and we have septic systems that we don't even know where they're at right now. So I do think this is very important for our community.
I've seen 55-gallon drums of stone in them that lasted 70 years, so, you know, it all depends on the soils and everything, really, so.
All right, Commissioner Nelson.
So question for you guys, have they removed the requirement that the inspectors be an environmental engineer in version 8? Please say yes.
So they changed the language so that the evaluator's their credential requirements will be designed by Eagle as written in the code. So it's not in the actual bills. It'll be hashed out once Eagle sits down to write the rules.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I would envision this as more of like our medical examiner is, we have a licensed medical examiner who's a physician, and they have deputy medical examiners that actually do the work. And then, you know, if they need to elevate a situation, they do. I think that would probably be the model we're looking at.
It will be important for us to have some of those conversations with the committee group, right? Because that would be language then written into, say, our code, if that's the route we go. So that will be important for us to discuss, and it would be our preference to find a level of a hybrid model that works with contract to complete this work.
Commissioner Flynn?
Could you remind me how many inspectors we currently have on staff?
So we don't do inspections right now, right? Grand Traverse County does not
that's only private
It's
entities
all
do that?
third-party private.
Okay.
We work with somewhere between 3 and 5 inspectors on a routine basis, third party.
Commissioner Walter?
But you mentioned earlier in your presentation that you expect a 20% failure rate. Does that mean you expect when the inspections begin that 20% of those will be failed systems?
Yes, that was observed too in Benzie-Leelanau and Benzie County when they began to implement these programs, that right out of the gate, you start to see 20% failure rate, and as we go on through the program, through the years, that number will come down.
But that's also going to depend on how you define failure.
Yeah, that's what I was
You
thinking.
know, when you guys showed the numbers last time, we have less than 0.25% failure right now by the number of systems that are being replaced because of known failures and stuff. So that 20% is going to depend upon the criteria, what defines failure.
And the weather. If we get a lot of rain, a lot more of them are failed because the soils are saturated and they're not perking the same. So I've seen fields they had standing water and then they lasted another 10 years with no standing water. It depends on the rainfall. It depends on a lot of factors. Failure is a spectrum. It's not an on-off switch. It's, you know, it can be slightly failed. It could be completely failed. And these are the discussions we're going to have.
Yeah, to Commissioner Jewett's point, that definition of failure is important. Obviously, that 20% rate increases if you're looking at whether they meet our current code or not. So right now, dry wells aren't approved in Grand Traverse County. So if we go out and inspect a drain field that has a dry well, is that considered a failure? So that would obviously increase that failure rate.
Well, to add to that too, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brent, but if we inspect a field and it's undersized by today's current standards, that's considered a failed field.
So right now, if somebody comes in and they have 3-bedroom home that's on a dry well, it's grandfathered. So that's going to be what we're going to have to decide as a committee.
Commissioner Andrews?
Thank you. Just two questions about the draft 8. In a prior version that was public, townships that have ordinances like Long Lake Township, Milton Townships, others, were immediately nullified, and they did not have the option to phase out into, they couldn't do what we did, or if they, if, say, Garfield Township today said, well, I don't think the county's going to move off, we're going to just go ahead and do it. At least in the prior version, theirs were they didn't get a sunset period. Do you know if draft 8 also doesn't allow a sunset for township level ordinances?
It's very new, yeah.
Okay, all right, just a question.
And I did highlight
just-
that, I did highlight that line in draft 8, and per my recollection, it just notates local health departments.
Okay,
So I did not read township in that line. I have it right there, I can reference quick, but I didn't see that, and it would have jumped out to me.
Yeah, and that's consistent with the prior version, and I just want to make the point that we are the only entity that gets to get inspections, because Long Lake will lose theirs if and when the state
Or
acts.
if the county ordinance says, this is our rules, unless the township chooses a stricter set, then that gives local control backed up by the
Correct.
county.
And I think that would, so that's my second question, which is, I don't believe any version I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, would prevent a county who adopted an ordinance before the date from amending it after the date to make it stricter, to allow townships to take more standards. It would be a floor, not a ceiling. I assume that they could do more. Is that consistent with the version that's? Okay, so we could enact, we could move forward, and we could try to not let perfection be the enemy of good and move in a positive direction.
Ideally, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we've got a motion to create a committee. It's going to be Commissioners Jewett, Andrews, and Henschel.
They're going to start meeting yesterday.
Start meeting as soon as possible. And just a side note, Watershed Center and Aspire North, make sure they are notified and invited to the meeting whenever we get it set. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Look forward to working with you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Just a note, in the future, it would be great to have this presentation in the packet ahead of the meeting for
That's
both,
on me.
both
Thank you.
for
apologize.
us and for the public benefit to be prepared.
I did ask Lisa to send it to me so I can put it at least in the minutes.
Yeah, in fairness to Mr. Leahy, this was a Friday discussion with him, and it was a new topic for us as well, so.
Okay.
Apologies.
All right, we're going to take a brief recess and then take up our last two items. We're in recess.
It's kind of a competition.
I hope it was presidential.
Takes money from us.
You ever do that? You be at your township meeting and they say all in favor, you wanna
I
say aye?
Yes.
So often I'm afraid I've never done it, but I'm afraid of it.
October 2nd, 2024. We're back from a short recess. We are on item 9C, Regional Materials Management Plan, MMP, Planning Committee, Designation Planning Agency, DPA. Mr. Alger.
I'm going to let Mr. Forsyth handle this. Lydia is here as well, and Chris and Lydia have been working on the MMP with Leelanau County, so I'm going to have him take it.
Yeah, so just as a way of background, as you recall, back in the summer, we provided a presentation on the changes to how waste is processed in Michigan and the need to develop a material management plan. One of the requirements in state law now is to develop a planning committee made up of various individuals or various organizations involved in waste, from waste management to waste production to recycling to even nonprofit advocacy groups. And so this item, and Lydia Gulo, our Resource Recovery Director, she'd be happy to dive into more specifics, but this is a requirement of the new state law to have this committee established, as well as to designate the planning agency, the DPA. So those are the two items before you. The list of names came out of a work group that was established by the intergovernmental agreement that the Board of Commissioners reviewed and approved, and that work group is made up of the Benzie County Administrator, the Leelanau County Planning Director, myself, and Lydia. So with that, Lydia, if you could come forward and we talk about your recommendation.
Can I move this by chance?
Yes.
Could you go to introduce yourself for everybody, please?
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Lydia Gulo, Resource Recovery Director, Grand Traverse County. And I'll kind of just, hopefully it'll be short and sweet, but so far we've executed a interlocal agreement between Leelanau, Benzie, and Grand Traverse County. We submitted our notice of intent, and the next step in that process is to appoint the DPA and the MMP Planning Committee there. So you guys should have gotten an attachment with the proposed members.
Yep.
So, yeah, I guess, I don't know if they have any objections, questions on that proposed list.
Commissioner Andrews.
Thank you. I'm generally supportive of your proposal, but I did have a question on the third seat is a materials recovery facility operator, and it is it Bevelheimer?
Bevelheimer, yeah.
Bevelheimer with GFL. It's just from my understanding, a materials recovery facility is not a landfill. It is a predominantly recycler. Like up to 15% of what they manage can come is waste as opposed to recycling. And I'm just curious if GFL, at least in this community, is mostly a waste facility.
They have the recycle
They do-
center
they
out
do.
there
They
by
do
Elmer's.
They
I don't
do
know what
they
the
do
percentage
recycle.
is,
I don't
though.
know the exact percentage. That's something I'd have to look into. With that said, we are limited on our options for that. You will see number 5, a waste diversion, reuse, or reduction facility operator. So that would be Bay Recycling for Community. I don't know of anyone else in the area that would meet that requirement in the 3 counties. And I could keep that as vacant for now and do some more research before you guys approve that.
I don't mind moving it forward as you've got it. I just want to flag that if we understand if the state says that that is a very specific thing and that it should be vacant rather than being filled by somebody that fits in a different category. The concern being, of course, that I assume the state has set these seats so that there's a balance of views, and if 2 environmentalists were seating instead of 1, then that would potentially sway the conversation.
Yeah, I do know that a lot of recyclables from different waste haulers are actually brought to GFO. So
we're very heavily reliant on GFL in this area, and that's just the kind of way it is. And I have consulted with Mark Bevelheimer, and they are trying to ramp up their recycling and make investments toward that. So I can double check the definition of a materials recovery facility operator with Eagle if you'd like.
I would say we should move forward, and if there's a problem, you'll let us know and we can amend.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to hold up the action.
Commissioner Jewett?
There's a lot of great representation on here, but I see that a lot of these are the bigger haulers, so to say, and there's not a whole lot, if any, really, well, Northern Disposal possibly, but of the smaller haulers here that I've talked to one yesterday that said that they feel that they don't have a voice in this at all. So I would like to see maybe one or two more of the smaller haulers added here so they have a voice too.
Yep, because the other proposed person for number 2 was someone from Republic, which Republic is obviously another big company. So I actually reached out to Corey Brown from Northern Disposal, and he also operates within Benzie County mainly. So that I was trying to give some little guys a voice at the table. But if you'd like me to consider swapping out, I guess it would be.
Can
You want me to
anything be
swap out number
added,
2 for another small waste hauler? Is that what you're?
Chris, is there a limit on the number?
Yeah, we have up to 13.
No more
Could
than
add-
13.
We could add additionally. I can tell you that this list went to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners, and they've approved it, and they'll formally ratify it at their next meeting.
Could we consider, if somebody wants to be on this board, that we would add them at a later time? Is that an option?
Yeah, I think that's
Yes.
an option. Yes.
Or is this a publicly meeting committee, I'm
Oh, yes.
assuming, and anybody can come to the meetings
Yep,
and
10
make
days
comment?
before each meeting, I have to give public
Yeah,
notice.
so they could be noticed too if they're interested.
Yeah, but I think that's, well, the one specific guy I talked to is a smaller guy, but he said that he would like a voice at the table, not just a voice from the podium, so I can have him reach out to you.
Yeah, if you could actually have them reach out to Lydia.
Okay.
And then we can confirm and bring this matter back to the board to add members to the
Okay.
committee.
And that would have to go through all 3 boards?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, because we can add one more person, and then if you notice, number 10 is still vacant, which we plan to fill. And I've talked to a handful of businesses myself. It just comes down to people not having time, but I think we're going to approach like Cherry Republic next, and I got a few ideas, and I personally have consulted and confirmed 9 of these 11 members.
I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the proposed regional MMP Planning Committee members as proposed and appoint Lydia, I'm sorry, pronounce your last name again?
Gulo,
Grand Traverse County's Resource Recovery Director, as the designated planning agency for the Regional Materials Management Plan.
I'll support that.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve as presented. Is this, we're presenting, or approving her as the director, is that right? And
the designated planning agency, which
That.
is DPA. Yeah,
Okay.
Another alphabet soup acronym there.
Okay. And we're approving the board members.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, both in one motion, just so everybody's clear.
And I'll have this gentleman reach out to you.
Okay, sounds good.
His name is Chris Wood.
Okay.
All right, Nate?
If I may, Rich, I can see that you're tuned into this. Do you have anything to add before the commissioners take a vote?
No, the motion as presented to the board and as they recited is absolutely correct.
All right, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Lydia, for being here.
Yep, thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
So, Commissioner and Department reports, 12A, Mr. Alger, Restructuring Facilities.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. So yes, we have been talking about this internally. We've talked about it at the board level as well, just about processes going forward and maybe some recognition of synergy between parks and facilities. There's always been this push and pull between parks and facilities about what resources go where, who can do what. And because of the absence of our previous facilities manager, we moved Mr. Chase into an interim position of running facilities as well. By all accounts, across the county and departments, I have heard very positive things about John and his staff and kind of the revitalization of facilities along with parks. So we are going to move forward with restructuring facilities. I don't know what we're going to call it yet necessarily, whether it's facilities and recreation or parks, and we'll figure that out in the future. What we do need to do, however, is move on posting of the deputy director positions. Currently, we don't have those posted. We don't have a deputy director of facilities or parks, and in an effort to not lose focus on either one of those operations, we want to have somebody who's in charge exclusively for facilities and for parks. As you're well aware, we have an FMP that is out there yet to be discussed, and we can't really put all of that on John's shoulders. So we're going to go forward with that. It is likely going to cost less than it currently does, but we don't know that for certain yet. We're restructuring what that looks like. So I guess I'm just wanting to let you know that we are moving forward with that restructuring. And you'll see a posting somewhere at some point for Deputy Director for Parks and Deputy Director for Facilities.
What will this do to other positions within facilities and parks? Are those both new positions, or is there other restructuring that's proposed to be happening?
That will be, we will ultimately, that is the restructure. We'll have a deputy and a deputy. There's currently 2 additional staff for Parks and Recs and an office manager. We don't necessarily know that we'll need that office manager position. And then how many staff in facilities, John? 8 people. They will all retain their current classification, title, and position within the unions if they are in the union, or not if they're not in the union. That will be the extent of the restructuring.
Sounds like it's a great plan.
I just want to throw out one more time a thanks to John Chase for everything he's been doing to hold down a whole lot of moving parts. And not only, I mean, like we have outlets today. I don't know if you guys noticed. We don't have to crawl under these desks. That has been one of those back burner projects for well over a year that just didn't get installed. He's not only moving things forward as he does, so he's systematizing, creating schedules for things to be maintained regularly, so you don't have to wait till something's on fire to put it out, but actually maintaining things that need to be maintained. John has just done an amazing job. Very, very grateful for everything he's been doing there. All right, other commissioner and department reports. Commissioner Jewett.
Excuse me. Beta has a public open house on October 5th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for their new facility on the corner of Lafreniere and Hammond Road.
Do they have a grand opening tomorrow at 3, correct?
There was a ribbon cutting on my calendar, but I think they moved it to Saturday, or is that?
No, they do have one tomorrow also,
Okay.
but
Okay,
that's,
'cause I have that on my calendar as well.
that's invitees only. The one on the 5th is for public.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yep.
we weren't invited?
As we talked about a while ago, but I'm sorry, were you done with your update?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry. As you know, I serve on the Commission on Aging Advisory Board and the Area Agency on Aging, and talked in the past about Commission on Aging moving. Well, that is happening very soon. The renovations are almost complete or very close. I know I was told, Mr. Chase, that things are imminent and they have a moving date of the end of next week. So Commission on Aging offices are going to be closed on Thursday and Friday of next week and fully reopen in the new space at the Area Agency on Aging building on the 14th of October. So they, that information has been put into the newsletters, and they are mailing it out, a postcard to all of their clients and vendors and partners and people related to that. So it's a very good change, and hopefully part of a longer plan to have more of a senior hub and a place for seniors to go to receive different services from different agencies. So kind of the first step in that, and there's, I believe it's a 3-year lease, is that correct? It's a 3-year lease, and Area Agency is happy about it as well. So spread the word there. They'll be out of the offices next to the fire department at the end of next week. And I know we have a study session coming up to that effect as well, sometime later this fall, about MSU extension and that space and some other things, but I wanted to give you an update on that. Did you have anything?
The Commissioner Department reports. Commissioner Andrews?
Just a super quick update on the pavilions. Their census remains high, around 170, which is facilitating a positive cash flow, which is great. A big step from where we were a year ago. They had a survey in September. They did get some, I don't know what the term is, citations or items that were flagged, but.
Corrections. Yeah.
Correct, whatever, yeah, the term is. The only one, there was one only for the kitchen, and that's really good news.
Minor. It was a minor
very,
Yeah, 'cause
very.
They were drying dishes with towels instead of letting them air dry. That was it.
And it was even more discreet. There was some, it was the trays.
It was inside of the tray holder or something. It was
really minutia.
The comment was made is sometimes inspectors need to find something, and they had to dig deep.
Yeah.
So very good report.
Great news. And then the third piece coming out of the pavilions is that they are in the process of the foundation has funded an architectural assessment of the cottages, knowing that they need, they've been a transitional issue. Their census is down, their rates have gone up because their costs and the operational costs are going up. And they've, are in the process of developing a master plan, and the architectural assessment will come out at the end of November, early December. That will help inform that. So that will help them planning for the next, where they're going with cottages.
Commissioner
I
Flynn?
don't have really anything to report, but I do have a few questions for administration. I know we had an ad hoc put together for salary review with Commissioner Andrews, Seifert, and McAllister and myself. I know there's a doodle poll that went out, but we haven't seen that scheduled. So I was following up with that.
I don't know when the doodle poll showed you all could meet. I would have to talk to Lisa and get back to you on that.
Recall that we were waiting for staff to assess the scope of salaries that should be properly included or excluded from that because of a concern with respect to adjusting salaries for potentially contract union contract folks. So I think that was the piece we were waiting for next before we could meet.
Okay, we have that. My apologies. We do have that list created. HR has done so we can resubmit a doodle poll if that was the case.
And I just want to reiterate what Dr. McGram said, that, we do have a study we did have a study session thought about with the strategic plan to go over, and I'd like to see when that would be. And also, since we have canceled study sessions and special meetings, the schedule that we had out is kind of different now, so if there could be an updated
You can do that.
schedule of items that we'll be discussing, that'd be helpful.
You can do that. As far as the opioid funding, the way we look at this is it was defeated in chambers. So somebody has to bring that up. It's not something that the administration is going to say, hey, let's take another crack at this. It needs to be a discussion based on a board request. Dr. McGram, this morning, you heard him. The chairman asked him to provide an email to that degree. So I'm hoping that prompts discussion about the QRT and the community corp.
On that note, I did have a discussion with our administrator about the homeless shelter in Traverse City. He has a meeting scheduled with the representatives of that to clarify what they're asking for, and then it'll probably be on a future board agenda to that effect. Correct?
Correct.
The representatives of Safe Harbor?
So I have been we were supposed to meet Monday. I had the beta situation, so I could not meet. But the Homeless Coalition, the city, and they want to have Sakura Takano from Rotary Charities. They want to have a discussion about the county's potential involvement, specifically with either Safe Harbor or others, as well as the Jubilee House. So we'll be having that discussion soon.
That include a discussion of the housing task force that I believe the city was.
Like we will.
All right, any other department or Commissioner Nelson, do you have a report?
Scott, did you have anything?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. I just wanted to, I think the biggest kept secret, unfortunately, in the county right now is the coffee with the county. And we had one, I don't know, a couple, 3 weeks ago in Acme. And I want to thank all of the administration team that came out. We probably had 12, 16 members of the team. I think it's great. I've been to numerous of these around the county. And the unfortunate part for me is there's not a lot of people that show up, and I think, like at the last one at Acme Township, even the board was a little bit confused about what it was like. Is it a meeting? How it's not a meeting with public comment. It's an interaction. Think about standing around having coffee. So I would encourage us to keep doing these. I think people are still getting used to the idea, but I was just grateful to have as many people came out to Acme Township as did, and had some great conversations. The people who were there got a lot of information, and hopefully
I'm glad your days seem like a week too, because that was last Monday.
Was it
last
really?
week.
Oh,
It was
boy.
9 days ago.
Seems like 3 weeks
I know.
ago.
Every
Holy
day
cow.
seems like a week lately.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to highlight that. I think these have been good. The ones I've been at, I've seen really good conversations between people in the administration and people in the public. So often we're the public-facing person, and it's a road commission issue, or it's an administrator issue, or it's something else, and I'd like to highlight Mr. Forsyth. You were able to answer some questions from somebody very well, and way better. You were the right person to be there. So, and I've seen that over and over. So thank you.
I fake it well, yes.
Yeah, well done.
We find value to that, Commissioner Nelson, because even though we work hand in hand with the township supervisors and some of their elected officials on a weekly basis, if not daily, getting in front of them in their space, listening to the concerns that they and their community have is very important to us, because we can address things either administratively or bring them to the board's attention, and it's just a non-threatening environment to do so. So we will continue to do it, and I'm happy to do it.
Commissioner Morris?
Okay, well, if nobody's going to talk about the MAC conference, I guess I will.
Well, we'll leave it up to you.
Okay. So we all, several of us attended the MAC conference. It was a really great opportunity to network with our peers from around the state. Have some really great food. We won't talk about anything else that happened after hours. Just kidding, just kidding. No, serious. So Thursday at breakfast, I sat with two gentlemen who were talking mental health, and immediately my ears started perking up, and I listened to them for a while, and then I introduced myself and talked about my county and what board that I was on, and they're like, "Oh, we heard about you," and I'm like, "Oh, do tell." But apparently, Northern Lakes had been talked about in the past as with negative connotations. And he said, but we're hearing very good things about what's happening at Northern Lakes now. And I'm like, okay, that's something that this board did. We made choices that moved things forward, and our Northern Lakes board did as well. And that makes me proud, because we don't often get to see the measurements of the decisions that we make, and people are talking about things that we have done in a positive direction. So we had some really great breakout sessions, and my favorite by far, was presented by Mr. Chase. And we have heard how important our parks are to this region. But to sit in the back of the room and listen to it be presented on a board and watch people from around the state go, oh yeah, hadn't thought about that. You know, it was a whole new revelation. It was a new way to look at it. So I was very proud of our team and Mr. Chase in particular. So I just wanted to make those statements and say I'm actually proud of our whole team because we've done some good work. So we were also able to tour yesterday the Grand Traverse Mental Health. No, wait.
Crisis.
It was a long name, Creative Aid Committee. Mental Health Crisis and Access Center. Yes, thank you. That's another measurable thing that we did as a board. It started off just an idea, a nebulous idea, almost like, you know, reaching around that game you play with a paper sack, reaching around to touch the object and see if you can describe it and figure out what it is. It almost started out like that, and now we've watched it form, and we're watching it become a reality. There's still a lot of questions, and we're still feeling it through, but, you know, we kind of helped do this, and I appreciate this team.
Commissioner Walter.
Just a quick follow-up. I think the Coffee with the County is great in concept and throwing out for next year, because I think it will grow and people will find out about it. That one thing I've heard from the public is it's very hard to come at 9 a.m. That works well for staff and for other maybe electeds or if we're at a township, their staff. But if the concept is to bring in the public to engage with the county, it's probably not always the best time, so maybe alternating it between 9 a.m. and a 5 p.m. or an evening opportunity as well in those areas would be welcome by many people to be more available to working people.
And not be coffee.
I like
Well,
to suggest
I'm not
maybe,
gonna-
maybe
I'm not-
happy hour with Nate.
Cocktails with the county.
I'm gonna let the
With Nate and friends.
I'm gonna
Happy hour
let
with
the
Nate and
contracted folks figure out the details of that, but I just want to share that feedback from people.
Cocktails with the
Thank you,
county.
Commissioner Walter.
Nice.
We have thought about that as well, and yes, you're correct. We are looking to schedule something at night.
Okay.
Just a shout out to the Senior Center Network for their Fall Festival at the VFW Hall on Veterans, I think it was last week. Seemed to be well attended, lots going on. Did you get to do the drum thing?
I did not. I had another meeting.
Yeah, I know.
Did
It's
you?
so- No, I almost did. I just had to go. But they had a lot of activities, a lot of senior-oriented activities. There's a lot going on with the Senior Center Network. Once again, for those of us that aren't quite to that senior mark, we can pay, I think it's about $10 a year, and become a member of that Senior Center Network and have access to a lot of activities. It is a full community program, and they've got a lot going on. So
Speak for yourself. How old are you?
I am 45.
Okay.
Kudos to our staff and the volunteers. If you recall that day, it was hot, and it was on the asphalt driveway of the VFW, and it was they were cooking for sure. But they had a great turnout, a very good program.
Commissioner Nelson.
Penny said something that maybe, I went to the John Chase's presentation at the MAC conference, because I'm on the Parks and Rec, and I'm still trying to absorb and learn. And I couldn't believe how much I learned. And that's not a backhanded compliment to you. He had a lot of really good information in that report. And maybe it would be something that the commission would want to bring to the public meeting, that was probably a 45-minute presentation, but it might be valuable for us and the community to see a shortened version of that. Some of the data, what I liked about it is you dug down and had actual data based, it was backing up what you were discussing. And it was, the title of it was The Value of Your Parks, or more than bringing value to your residents. And it really put the case out there for what a park does for a community, property values and everything else. So it was, I think it'd be worth us to see it.
Was there another report? I was just going to say that at the MAC conference, what did happen after hours was our host county reception for, we invited our road commissioners, we had a lot of our township people come. It was a really good gathering of informal conversations. And then all of the counties, people, I mean, it was elbow to elbow for a while there.
Yep.
And no tax dollars spent. Plant Moran was kind enough to sponsor that in exchange for putting up a couple of easels with boards talking about what their company offers. So it was a good exchange of value and didn't cost the taxpayers anything. And there was some great food and just good conversations. And then the next morning, bright and early, I got to give the opening welcome to Grand Traverse County speech for the MAC attendees. I don't know if any of you were there yet, but all right. I want to actually, Bonnie, do you have a update on elections? I heard ballots went out. How are things going?
We got ballots last week. All the move ballots, which are the military, were sent electronically on September 21st as required by law, because we didn't have the paper ballots in hand at that time. There was a delay due to court cases. So they should have their ballots, and they should be sending out the absentees now. I have all the public accuracy testing dates on my website if anybody's interested in going to watch one. Every jurisdiction will be having a public accuracy test of those tabulators. So if you have any question about how the tabulators are recording those votes, they do quite a rigorous testing of them. So I encourage you to go there to my website to see that. I also have the election notices out there that talk about early voting dates, times, and locations. If you have a place, if you're in one of the jurisdictions that has combined, like East Regional has 5 jurisdictions, perhaps you live in Acme, you would go to the East Bay Township Hall for your early voting, and that is also all on my website. In addition, sign ordinances are also on my website to help you guys that are candidates to see what sign ordinances are in some of the jurisdictions, so you don't get in trouble with size or location, hopefully, on that.
It is a challenge as a candidate because we have some volunteers that are very enthusiastic, and I see my sign out someplace. I did not put it there.
Yeah.
If it's conflicting, I'll try to pick it up, but it's a challenge. It's not always the candidate's fault. We just have zealous volunteers. So, any other department reports?
Just notice.
Okay, so let's go to second public comment. Anyone like to address the board at this time? Now is your opportunity. Seeing none? Okay, then we'll go to notices. I've got a few things of note, community events and such. October 4th, this Friday, Traverse City State Park is having a first responders event, a community event honoring first responders. So I believe that's at 5. Information online. Just Google TC State Park First Responders event. This Saturday, as mentioned, Beta has its open house from 11 to 2. At the same time, TC Metro has an open house at Station 11 on Veterans Drive, 11 to 2 as well. So you can make both. Great. October 7th is the Right to Life dinner. I believe that's out at the Grand Traverse Resort again. And October 7th, NMC, earlier in the day, NMC Aviation is doing a ribbon cutting. So there's lots of community events for us to go enjoy.
What time is that event for NMC?
NMC is, I think, 12:30. And that's at it's at the aviation center adjacent to the airport. Mr. Alger?
We have a study session next week. We have a budget update, staffing requests, presentations, and that's it. And also so the packet information that you have, A1, I think, was in the packet today. That was a letter to commissioners from a gentleman from Paradise Township. Typically, those are emailed to us, and I know that you're copied on those emails. Do you want us to put that information in the packet?
I did have a question about that because we do get correspondence and it doesn't get into a meeting packet. And so I wondered what the policy is around that and why some do and some don't.
If we get a mailed, this item was mailed to us, so we put that item into the packet. I didn't go letter to letter to say, are they exact, identical or not? But if it's mailed to us, we will put it in as correspondence.
I would say in general, you could simply, if it's mailed, just scan it and email it to us all. And then if it is something we might like the ORV ordinance, they're talking about ordinances, we might at some point have to take it up. It's good to have that in, so we have a heads up that, hey, there might be a vote on, this might be an agenda item down the road. If it's just, advertisements or, letting us know someone's opinion on something we're already doing, we don't necessarily need it in the packet.
Could open up a Pandora's box.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, which is why if someone sends an email and wants it read into public comment, we don't do that. If you want to show up and give public comment, you're welcome to, but that's just a Pandora's box. We could get 1,000 emails and, we have to be fair to everybody. If you can't do it for everyone, you can't do it for anyone, kind of a thing.
And then lastly, we had a leadership team meeting yesterday with the Wellness Center, titled to be yet finalized, I guess, but they are on time. They are on schedule and looking forward to opening soon. I was not able to attend the tour yesterday, but from all accounts, they're ready to go. And so hopefully by maybe first part of January, they'll be up and running.
It is not 100% open when it opens. It's a phased in. They're working through several things, including with the children and the adults in the same building. They've got a law change they have to make. So I just don't want to think that it's like shotgun start and boom, everything is. It will. We've got to figure things out and get things up.
There's a lot of very complicated services that are going to be contained in that center, and they're working through what's lawfully required and what's required by certification.
To clarify, pediatric residential will not open immediately, but pediatric crisis is open day one. Everybody is welcome. And I think we've just had a lot of concern that we're not doing enough on the pediatric side. It is going to be open for both in the crisis part.
Right. So a lot of yesterday's discussion was messaging to the public how this rolls out. To Commissioner Andrews' point, it's not going to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as it starts. They need to roll staff up. They don't have the staff in place yet. They're working on that to get that to be 24/7. But they're coming up with a messaging plan to make sure the community understands what's going to be open and what's not.
Okay. Any other notices?
I'd just like to thank Rich for stepping in for Mr. Nordfjord while he's out doing something other than this.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.